You tell me how a president in the middle of a pandemic has got time for this bullshit. Are you kidding me?
Stupidest president in American history backed down again. The only convicted felon to serve as president of the United States backed down.
The Chinese government's recent directive to local firms to avoid using Nvidia's H20 chips is not merely a new development. It signifies a profound and calculated escalation in the ongoing technological rivalry between the U.S. and China. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. This action goes far beyond a simple trade dispute, representing a deeply strategic maneuver designed to counter the U.S. government's recent policy reversal on chip exports and, more importantly, to aggressively accelerate China's foundational drive for technological independence. The directive is a powerful and unmistakable signal to Chinese domestic companies, urging them to prioritize national interests and a long-term goal of self-reliance over short-term commercial gains and immediate market expediency. This move highlights a fundamental shift in China's strategic calculus, where technology is seen not as a commercial commodity, but as a critical component of national power and security. This pressure campaign, which involves a series of official and unofficial notices sent to a wide range of firms, is particularly potent for projects related to government, military, and national security. While it deliberately avoids a formal, legally binding ban, this form of state guidance is an exceptionally effective deterrent. For any company operating within China's economic and political system, especially the numerous state-owned enterprises, a notice from the government is universally understood to be a direct command, not a mere suggestion. The message is crystal clear. Using American-made chips in sensitive applications is politically incorrect and carries substantial, career-threatening risk. This policy is not an isolated case targeting only Nvidia's H20. It extends to other U.S. chips, such as AMD's MI308, indicating a broader, more systematic effort to methodically decouple China's entire tech ecosystem from the influence and potential vulnerabilities inherent in American technology. The fear of being a pawn in a geopolitical game is a powerful motivator for Beijing, the domestic market, and the unfolding dilemma for Chinese firms. The Chinese government's policy acts as a powerful catalyst for the country's domestic semiconductor industry. News of the guidance was met with an immediate and strong market reaction, as seen in the sharp surge of stock prices for local chip designers like Cambricon Technologies Corporation and Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, SMIC. Investors are placing significant bets on the idea that these government-backed policies will create a protected, captive market by essentially eliminating foreign competition. This captive market provides these domestic companies with a clear, state-sponsored pathway to accelerated growth and eventual market dominance within China. The theory is that this guaranteed revenue and scale will allow Chinese companies to invest heavily in R&D, thereby closing the technological gap with international leaders. However, the reality on the ground is far more complex and nuanced. While China has made immense progress in its semiconductor capabilities, its domestic chips are not yet on a technological par with the most advanced offerings from Nvidia and AMD, particularly in areas crucial for cutting-edge AI. Analysts, such as Haman Lee of Lombard Odier, have highlighted that while Chinese chips are steadily improving, they often lack the versatility, raw performance, and the crucial software ecosystems needed for the most demanding and sophisticated AI workloads. The H20, for instance, despite being a downgraded version of NVIDIA's flagship H100, boasts a robust memory bandwidth and efficient interconnects, NVLink, making it highly effective for large language model inference tasks, a key capability for AI development. Domestic alternatives, such as Huawei's Ascend 910B, while having comparable specifications in some areas, are hindered by a less mature software ecosystem and challenges in production, creating a significant performance and supply gap. This discrepancy creates a difficult dilemma for Chinese tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent, who are at the forefront of AI development. They must weigh the political pressure to use domestic chips against their core commercial need for the best available technology to remain globally competitive in a rapidly evolving market. The government's notices, which reportedly ask companies to formally justify their use of Nvidia chips, demonstrate that Beijing is fully aware of this tension and is actively trying to push companies toward strategic, long-term choice for domestic alternatives, even if it comes at the cost of short-term performance and efficiency. Beijing's core motivations: security and self-sufficiency. Beijing's policy is not a standalone initiative, but a calculated move driven by two fundamental and deeply intertwined strategic goals: national security and technological independence. First, there's a deep-seated and persistent suspicion regarding the security of American-made hardware. Chinese officials are reportedly concerned that chips like the Nvidia H20 could be equipped with covert features, such as location tracking or remote shutdown capabilities, that could be used for espionage or as a tool for American government leverage in a crisis. These fears are not isolated. They are part of a broader, consistent pattern of security-driven policy. Beijing has a well-documented history of restricting the use of products from major U.S. companies like Tesla and Apple in sensitive government areas, and has previously banned Micron technology chips from critical infrastructure projects, all citing similar national security concerns. This established pattern demonstrates a clear and unwavering prioritization of national security over commercial efficiency and short-term technological performance. For Beijing, the potential risk of a foreign-controlled backdoor in its critical technological infrastructure is simply too great to ignore, regardless of the immediate economic cost. Second, Beijing is fiercely committed to its ambitious long-term vision of becoming a global leader in all major technology sectors. The government's forceful push for the adoption of domestic chips is a central and non-negotiable component of its grand strategy, often referred to as dual circulation. This economic model prioritizes domestic consumption and production as the primary drivers of growth, with the international market as a secondary but still important component. By creating a protected and guaranteed domestic market, Beijing is providing the essential revenue streams and scale that its own chip makers, like Huawei Technologies Company, need to survive, innovate, and eventually compete on a global stage. This strategy is explicitly designed to cultivate a robust and fully independent semiconductor ecosystem from the ground up, thereby ensuring that China's technological future is not vulnerable to foreign sanctions, export controls, or sudden geopolitical shifts. This is a long-term play, meticulously designed to build a durable foundation for a future where China is not dependent on any single country for its most critical and foundational technologies. This vision extends beyond chips to a full technological stack, from software to hardware. The contradictory U.S. position and its geopolitical implications. The U.S. government's policy on chip exports to China has been marked by a fundamental internal conflict and a striking lack of a cohesive, unified strategy. The Trump administration's initial decision to permit exports of the H20 was justified by some officials as a strategic move to keep China dependent on less advanced American technology. The logic was that by providing these lower-end chips, the U.S. could slow China's technological progress and prevent domestic firms from gaining the market share and revenue needed to develop more advanced technology on their own. This engage-to-constrain strategy aimed to maintain a degree of influence over China's AI development. However, this policy was met with strong and vocal objections from other officials who argued that any sale of American technology, regardless of its sophistication, would ultimately serve to strengthen China's overall computing power and bolster its technological industry. The U.S. government's rationale for the subsequent policy reversal was also notably inconsistent. Some officials claimed the move was part of a broader deal to secure better access to Chinese rare earth minerals, while Beijing publicly and forcefully denied that the H20 shipments were part of any such bilateral trade agreement. This significant discrepancy highlights a fundamental and deeply troubling lack of consensus within the U.S. government and greatly complicates the strategic landscape for both American and Chinese companies, who are left to navigate a shifting and unpredictable policy environment. The recent arrangement where Nvidia and AMD will hand over